Hello. So you not only get one, but you get two videos from me today. So you should feel uber special. So in this video, I want to talk about walk through the actual grading rubric so that we have clarity on what I'm looking for when I grade your annotated bibliography. So like I said in the last video, in your rough drafts of your annotated bibliography, I basically gave everyone comments on the annotated bibliography according to the grading rubric. And I just want to walk through the grading rubric. So as you are interpreting my comments when you look at your rough drafts, I want to be sure that we all have an understanding on what I'm looking for before you submit your paper on February 20th. So when you go to the annotated bibliography assignment sheet, which is located on eLearning in the content section under the tab annotated bibliography, you want to make sure that you read the annotated bibliography assignment sheet. And then when it comes to the grading rubric, there are 11 requirements that I am basically going to grade you on in this paper. So in the first requirement, which states that you have to have the correct title page according to either MLA or APA format, the MLA, that basically is just a fancy way of saying that make sure your name, the date, and my name, and the class is in the right place. So, with the MLA format, it's in the upper left-hand corner. You know that you have to have your name, my name, the class, and the date. In the annotated bibliography, in APA format, it's a little bit more involved. One has to have a cover page. And so based off of your cover page or your title page, that's if you do MLA or APA, that's the style that you want to stick to throughout the paper. In terms of the attention grabbing introduction, so make sure in your introduction that you have a clear articulation of your topic. Make sure that you tell your reader exactly what it is that you are going to analyze in this annotated bibliography. Touch on a couple of the key points that you're going to that you are going to discuss in your annotated bibliography. In terms of thinking about an attention grabbing introduction, don't just begin your annotated bibliography with this is how or this is what I'm going to talk about, but perhaps provide a startling statistic. Begin with a personal connection or a personal story that made you want to do more research on this. Perhaps begin with an analogy. Begin with something that's going to grab your reader's attention and make them want to continue to read more. Number three, make sure the citations are accompanied by annotations of at least 5 academic sources. A few of you want to make sure that you pay close attention to this because one of the major aspects to writing this paper is to being able to identify the differences between academic and popular sources. So I'm going to be a stickler about that. Make sure in terms of your sources that you use that you are using at least 5 academic sources. And if you do not have a clear understanding of the differences between academic scholarly sources versus popular sources, make sure that you review those links on eLearning. A real quick and a quick understanding that and this doesn't work all the time, but a real quick understanding that sort of gives you clues as to the differences between scholarly academic sources versus popular sources is that scholarly and academic sources will have citations. They will have works cited pages or references pages because those authors are citing from other authors, other specialists in the field. So that's one quick telltale sign to be able to tell the differences between popular sources versus scholarly and academic sources. Does it have citations? Does it have a works cited page and a reference page? And there are many more characteristics to think about, but that's the first thing that should, draw the red flag is if it has citations from other sources. The next thing is number 4 is annotations should be a minimum of 8 sentences. Make sure that you are elaborating on the information that you found in your sources. Along with that, talk about how the information in the sources that you're providing, how that information is developing your thinking about the topic within this particular moment. Number 5, each annotation includes at least one direct quote. Now, the reason why I'm having you use direct quotes is that I'm trying to get you into the practice of quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing information. I'm also trying to get you into the practice of being able to distinguish between your words and the author's words and their ideas, because that is going to be crucial in the paper that we write after the annotated bibliography. So make sure that you include at least one direct quote from the source and from your source material, and make sure that you describe how that source connects to the information that you're describing. So don't just randomly insert quotes in your annotations because that's a requirement. Use a quote because you're building off of the idea that's expressed in that quote. You are using this information to help guide and to help develop your understanding of the information that you're including about your research topic. Number 6, include a conclusion. Just like the introduction, the conclusion should leave the reader wanting, being interested, wanting a little bit more about your topic. Let your reader know where you're going to go with this. Remember, you are going to continue to develop this topic in your next paper. So think about some of the things that you weren't able to touch on this paper, and you can express that in your conclusion. Think about some of the issues think about some of the issues that you've narrowed in on and that you want to do further research on. You can discuss that in the conclusion. And as always in these annotated bibliographies, you want to continue to tell your reader how the information that you are discussing is developing your thinking about the topic within that moment. And so in the conclusion, you'll sort of bring all of that stuff together. You'll tell your reader, this is how these key pieces of information are developing my ideas. This is what I used to think about this topic. This is what I now think about this topic. And this is where I'm going with this topic. Make sure, number 7, make sure that your paper is formatted in Times New Roman font 12 point size. That's pretty self-explanatory. Number 8, correct documentation style according to MLA or APA format. And a lot of your rough drafts, which I'm still working on, but in a lot of your rough drafts, you want to make sure that you pay close attention to MLA and APA or APA formatting. So in a lot of your rough drafts, I have included links to make sure that your citations are formatted according to the correct format. Correct pagination. Number 9, make sure that your last name and the page number is located in the upper right-hand corner of your paper. And usually for that, I just create a header. And once you create a header, it'll ask, Word will ask you where you want to format the actual, what you actually want to place into the header, and where you want that to be located on the paper, and you just custom or create those settings so that it's in the upper right hand corner and it's your last name and page number. I know that sort of sounded like a vague explanation, so if you have any questions about how to do page numbers and how to format page numbers, don't hesitate to ask me, and then I can deal with that on an individual basis. Number 10, make sure that your annotated bibliography is carefully proofread. Make sure that you check for sentence clarity, effective word choice, spelling, grammar, and comma usage. So these are the things that I'm going to look at. As I read through your annotated bibliographies, I'm going to be asking myself, does this writer have a sense of flow? Are the ideas within the actual annotation, are the sentences connecting? Are the sentences clear? Do I have a sense of what this student is talking about? Are there any spelling errors? Are there any major, areas in the paper that I can't understand due to grammar, due to misspellings? Are there areas in the paper that I can't understand due to misplaced commas or comma splices? So make sure that you carefully proofread each of your annotations. Make sure that you proofread your introduction and your conclusion to make sure that you all of the mechanics mechanics and compositional aspects are clear and you have a clear, effective execution of those aspects. And you know, one of the things that in this paper it's not going to be a requirement, but I always highly recommend students going to the RIT Center. Now, in your next paper, the RIT Center will actually be a requirement, but I will put a link on eLearning how you can use the RIT Center between now and the due date, which is February 20th, how you can use the RIT Center to help you check for these requirements. And also, it's always important to have another pair of eyes to read your ideas. And you can also, if you're not able to get out to the main campus or you don't even live in Michigan and you're taking this class, you can always submit to the RIT Center via online. Number 11, the last requirement. Make sure that your paper is uploaded in the Dropbox on eLearning as a Word document. Every Word document must be saved as your first name, your last name, and annotated bibliography. So please pay attention to this, because if this is one of those things that you can lose points on for not following the directions. So make sure that you check the, and then when you look at the grading rubric, you'll notice that I have an A, B, C, D, and F paper, and then the A is excellent, B is good, C is adequate, D is poor. We're not going to even worry about the F because we aren't going to submit F work. We're all going to submit A work, correct? So we want to be concerned with getting excellence in all of those categories. Make sure that you look at my comments that I've given you in your rough drafts. As a reminder, I'm still working on rough drafts. So if your rough draft is not in the eLearning site yet, don't fret. It's coming sometime between now and tomorrow. Make sure that you review those requirements for the grading. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know. Send an email. Use the question section, or use the questions module in the discussion board site if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Once again, happy reading, happy writing, and I will see you in cyberspace.